Hello and welcome back to my channel. To start off with, I'm actually going to redo the banner for my story because I had some character inspiration basically of kind of what the general gist of what I wanted my characters to look like, and that has changed a little bit. Not a lot, but I have some alternate people in mind, and basically I'll show you. Don't cringe, nobody laugh at me. But this is kind of like my mood board for what I was writing originally. But basically, this was kind of the inspiration. It was going to be like a treasure hunter, sort of Indiana Jones meets magical realism. And so he was going to basically be the serious security, like Indiana Jones character. And on his way, he would have his sister, I kind of was imagining a very either non-binary or masculine tomboy character to be his sister. And so they would, and I just kind of they both had dyed bleach blonde hair at this point. And so those two would kind of be not estranged exactly, but not close. And so part of the story would be following them bonding again and kind of getting over an accident they had. And then they would meet these two, who would be sort of the magical realism part of the story. And basically there was some occult vibes and just kind of this adventure Indiana Jones style wild story. And I still do want to tackle that, but the more I thought on it, the less I was able to really solidify that story. And so I've kept some of the essence, like the characters, but I've shifted kind of the dynamics. Rather than these two being siblings, it is now, well, this actually, bless his heart, he's gone. He's actually out. I kind of want to trade him out for a Daniel Radcliffe or even Hugh Dancy. The character personalities are quite different. But I do really like Mads Mikkelsen's aesthetic. But weirdly enough, and it may not seem like it, his face is very similar to Jensen Ackles. And so it kind of gave me a facial structure that I'm interested in for that character. So the very straight nose, kind of flat mouth, whereas the main character, the Daniel Radcliffe, Hugh Dancy, they have the even Elijah Wood could fit the idea that I have, which is blue or green eyes, dark curly hair, very much the stereotype of what those actors normally play. Yes, so specifically this Daniel Radcliffe and this Hugh Dancy, the sweaters, the button-ups, the kind of dark academia, Hobbit vibes. Then I'm also going for a very specific idea of Mads Mikkelsen. So I know obviously I am a Hannibal fan, but he has so many stunning personalities that he's played. And so for this, he would actually be the security guard. And so I'm looking for a much more down-to-earth look. So he's got a sweater in this photo. This sort of just plain, security guards often have a shirt and pants. I mean, that's kind of their uniform. It's not they're in a full suit. I mean, maybe, I guess that is an aesthetic, but this is very much we're going an Indiana Jones vibe. Who does he play? Dean Winchester? That reminds me so much of the Dean Winchester face. So once I realized they look similar, I kind of put them both down as inspiration because I don't want to write with just one character in mind, because I don't want there to be a point where the book gets stuck, because they should be characters. They should be able to take on their own life. So anyway, I definitely want Olivia Cooke because, like I said, I think she's such an interesting face, and I really want to keep her red hair.
Okay, so let's see what I've kind of already done Now, I have the original, like I said, this was kind of the original vibes. But then I have this. So I think this is the one where I was like esoteric, occult vibes, more a bunch of dorks. Because that's kind of what I feel like this is really going to be. I wanted a lot more of like these scenes where people are talking, people are bonding. These scenes here really, that's what I want for like the, let me tell you their silly names. So the main character's name is Grim. That has been pretty much set in stone since the story started, because I just thought that was a fun name, and his name is Grim Kilgore because why not? And originally when it was like very occulty, I was like, yeah, that's fun. So Grim Kilgore is our main. We have Leif, which I thought would be a really fun play on words. Like instead of a grim life, it would be a grim Leif. And so anyway, that was just me being dumb. However, then it got me into this crazy thing about, I did not know that, like, Danish surnames, and I don't really remember now everything, but, like, in that area, they don't have, like, official names like we do in America, or even in, like, I guess, like, Britain, where it's like, you know, you take your father's or your mother's last name. It's by first name, and then you just add son, which I always thought that was like really old school, and that wasn't like still a thing, you know, because you think like Thor, and it's like Thor daughter's son, and then like I guess I just didn't know that was a real thing, because I didn't know anything about that. So I went in this whole like last name searching, because you know that's what you do as an author. You're like, what could their last names be? And then you go and you look, and I wanted it to be authentic because I wanted his name to be Leif. And then there was a lot of discourse online about people naming their kids Leif and then calling them Leaf, and that was not like correct, because you know that's not how you're actually supposed to pronounce it. And so I went down this rabbit trail, and then not that many names that are actually available to people. So like it was kind of interesting because, for example, Mads Mikkelsen, he is the son of Mikkel, or Michael, and then obviously his name's not even Mads, it's like Mass. That led me into the rabbit hole of like, what is his last name gonna be? Because, you know, you could be like, literally like Leifson or Mikkelsen, or, and so I thought it would be funny to make him Madsen while I write this, just because, you know, it's Mads. Long story short, I just wanted to put that out there. That's why he has that last name, because I haven't done any more research into it on what a last name could be. And I didn't want to give him the name Mikkelsen, but that's actually a pretty common name, so I don't know. I have to do more research into that. So this is Leif. You guys are just going to laugh. So Olivia Cook, I really, really wanted to name her something like Cookie or Coco. Held strong. I did not. Instead, she is just going to be Cook Blackburn, because I like that name, and I have a neighbor with that name, and I'm just like, what a cool name. And that kind of goes with like the almost overly dark academia name of like Kilgore. So I thought, okay, that'll match. I just love the name Darcy, because you have Fitzwilliam Darcy, and then you have Emma Darcy, and of course you have Darcy from the Dark World, Thor. But to be honest, I can't remember what I named them. So let me go look at my original document. I'm not totally sold on that name. I think this is the one that's the most likely to change before I start actually drafting, because that just doesn't, it doesn't vibe. And then I actually thought about last night naming her like Allison. So obviously I was sitting here thinking like, gosh, I don't want to call her like Cookie or something. That's a little too close to like her actual name. And then I was like, well, it can't be Emma, like Emma Watson, because we already have Emma Darcy, and that would be odd. And then I'd probably get confused while I was writing. But I didn't want to come up with just random names, because sometimes that just kills the vibe. I thought, well, her character's name is like Allison, what ends in Cent? And then I thought, well, why don't I just call her like Allison Something like that, you know, like, it could literally just be like that. So if you have any ideas for like a name for this one, I'm not loving that name. I don't mind keeping Darcy as the first name, but I just don't really like Edwards at all. So it just doesn't fit right now. Let's see. So let's grab some vibes, which is probably what you were originally here for, and I've just blabbed this entire time. But I feel like these photos, like this one for sure, it had such like inspirational vibes for me. I just felt like that was the one. And I'm not sure what you call a story that's like a travelogue, I guess. It's almost like a pastoral novel. Like we're just kind of like moving along, lazing about. Frozen. In a story like that, I want there to be these moments, like especially like this one here. Like I want there to be moments where we are really getting to know these characters. Especially like I just feel like this would be a moment between like these two like pseudo siblings that are just like comforting, not in a weird way, not because like I don't want that. I don't want there to be any like weird secret history incest vibes. Like I actually want it to be like when you have a sibling and you are so close to them, like there are things that you do that just they aren't like that. Like you do hold your sibling whenever they are upset. You do comfort them. And so like I just think like I want those moments to be there. I want there to be moments of like love and care. And so I really want to make sure that I include those. Now, there are some photos in here that like don't make any sense. Like like this one, for instance, doesn't really need to be in there, but I was like, I don't know, maybe the vibe will be there because he's a security officer, and I was like, well, maybe he gets beat up, but I don't think anything like that will be in the story. So I definitely want to stay close to what I'm imagining. So at most, I'm imagining like button-up shirts or like high collars, so something like that. I really liked this, but I just don't know that this character would have that vibe, so I kind of stayed away from that. I like this photo because I think that this character would be like kind of messy and not worry about that kind of stuff. Like, that's not really their vibe. They're not really trying to impress anyone, so I could definitely see them like having their hair down more. Not really the vibe. I like this because he was smiling, but I still don't think it fits as well. I liked this. These sorts of photos are the relationship that I'm imagining for our kind of main characters. Really beyond caring what other people think about them in a way that like they have not been subjected to like the isolation of being judged like that by others. Like they've really grown up in a very loving environment, even though they didn't really have others around. And while that part might have been isolating to them, they never felt isolation for their closeness or like ostracized because of their closeness. And so they have this sort of almost overbearing clinginess to each other. They just do everything together. And one of the themes that I really want to touch on is like the fact that everyone thinks that they should be together. Like their parents want them to end up together, not because like they're trying to be weird, but they think it would be sweet, and they like the idea of their families being connected, and they feel like they've grown up together, and sure, like that would just be natural if they were to fall in love or whatever. And so I feel like they are also dealing with the expectation that they should like each other, and yet they don't, and they both almost feel like they are not a disappointment, but that they are maybe are disappointing others because they don't care for each other, and which by the end of the book they both realize it's because they're queer and they just don't like each other. At this point in the story, when it first starts out, they feel bad about it. They wish that they could be what their parents want, and what would make it easy. I liked this photo. I like this. I kind of feel like this would definitely be like her vibes, which right now I'm not even making this look nice. I'm just really just pulling in photos and thinking like, okay, who's who? This was a grim, I felt like this for sure was a grim aesthetic. Let me go up here and pull these on top. We can actually see stuff. I felt like this specific, I don't know, something about that. Like, I was really unsure on what eye color I wanted Grim to have because, you know, we have green and blue between both of the characters that I liked, or the actors. But that one kind of sold me on. I like that. I think that real dark green blue would be good. I thought these were fun because I do want to have some sort of like romp in the story where they are at like a river or something silly like that, and I just think it would be fun to have like a moment like that. Again, like there's very much like a dark academia vibe to it that I like, so I really like this photo in particular. Kind of gives you that like, I don't know, like vintage feel, and I think it's just because there are captions over it. Again, I like this photo, but I can't see a point in the story where there will be any sort of like impending death or doom. I almost included this one because when I first saved it, I thought like, yeah, that they could be at like a bonfire or something, but the outfit, the face, the atmosphere, like it just doesn't match because we should definitely be like in nature. I thought this one had the vibes, the sibling vibes. I liked that one. Originally, the story was going to be Americans paying someone to take them to Europe, but as an American, I know very little about Europe, and so I thought it would be a easier story to tell if it was like Europeans coming to America, because then I have a lot of background knowledge of like different like state parks and just like inspirational places that you could go here. So that's kind of why their nationalities flipped, and it worked out because the character of Leif, I knew if the name was going to be Leif that he would need to have like some ancestry, and so it's easier for him to be kind of built over there and not building out a backstory of like how in the world did he get all the way over here, and then how does he kind of know like the other main characters. And so I thought it would be easier to have the main characters be coming to America. And that was another reason that the first plot wasn't working out, because I could not figure out how certain characters would be in like the deep south, because that one I really wanted to be like a southern gothic kind of like horror story almost, and it just was not working because I was like, I want romance, I want adventure, this will be fun. Anymore. Oh, at this point I started thinking like I need inspiration for like their clothes, because you know, a lot of these photos, because they are actors, are going to be like really nice, like too nice to be out in the woods. I just love that stupid outfit. Yeah, like this one, there are just some of these that like the vibes, like I'm like, yes, that is such an amazing like vibe, just to be out and in nature and just like barefoot and having fun and feeling the rain. I mean, I want that to be a scene really bad. I think this one was like a good one. I think in a way like these in the end are going to help me figure out the scenes as well, because I know that I want to have scenes like this. I liked these three because so far I have a really strong concept of the sibling dynamic and not so much of the group dynamic, which I feel like will grow as the story progresses. I think this one could be a good one. what I'll end up doing with these is, as I start filling in plot points, I'll be kind of referencing back to these to be like, oh, you know what, I think that would be perfect for this scene. I like this image as well, because I definitely think, like, as little care as Grimm has for the judgment of others, like in particular towards like how he and his sister like interact with each other, and like he doesn't feel any shame in that. Like, that's his sister. Why would he feel ashamed of like being loving towards her? He will, however, have quite a bit of shame in like how he acts in regards to Leif, because he's just really unclear and unsure, and that's a really new thing to him, and he is just like really unsure how to broach that. And so like I like the idea of like these little moments where he's trying to be brave, but it's just like doesn't know how to approach it because he's never had these experiences before, which I think is becoming more and more common online and in just like social spaces, like with the rise of internet and phones and the ability to socialize without actually interacting. We build up to like these relationships that are really hard to enter because we don't even know how to communicate. We don't know how to voice interest, and we don't know how to like be present and in the moment. And so like I'm hoping that that can show through this story of like learning to just kind of be, and also to accept that like things are going to be cringy, things are going to be weird, and like you are going to embarrass yourself, and if it's the right person it won't matter, like they're going to laugh. I am interested in like starting the plotting because I'm worried about how to even progress the story. The other story was very much plot based, like as in like the plot was driving the action and like things were happening to the characters, whereas like in this story it's very much like character driven, and so like they are driving the plot, nothing's really happening to them, they are happening to things. So I've never written anything like that before. I just love these little moments. I mean, I think those are things that people think about like fondly, but don't really even realize it's so important to them. Like singing in the car, acting crazy, like being silly, like those are core memories that I'm not sure that we really realize are so precious until later on. I liked this one as well. I have so many photos, it's gonna be insane. I think that could be like a good moment, like a scene describing like her hair in the wind. This is definitely like kind of inspiration. It's just so funny. Like, not, it's funny because like their style, when I saw these photos, I was like, yeah, Park Ranger. Like, I had such inspiration from those outfits. So I think that's the end of it. Oh, King Prince. Oh, that was an idea I had for like similar faces to pull from for the Darcy character. The character to be able to have like these really strong masculine attributes, like being like a park ranger and being very much like in nature and very like stereotypical, like what would normally be like a male thing, but still being able to like be female, like still be able to just like live life and it not be an issue and not be questioned and not constantly be like pulled up for discussion. It's just like it would be nice to have that character just be like a non-issue. I feel like with Emma Darcy, like that is a big thing that they have done well and like brought to light, is they are allowed to be like non-binary, and it's it's like a non-issue. It's just who they are. Just like if I walked up and said, you know, like, oh, this is a boy, people would be like, oh, okay. Or this is a girl, and they'd be like, oh, okay. Like, we shouldn't have that reaction when someone's like, you know, so-and-so's non-binary. It's like, oh, what? Oh my god. Like, it should just be a non-issue. And so I'd like for this character to be able to have, like, certain things without it being, like, the plot. I hate reading a book and it's like, they're this, and that's their only personality trait. So hopefully it'll come through when I'm writing it. But I think that is sort of the extent of my mood board browsing now. I might find another face for that character just to kind of have one, but I remember the reason I think I didn't put them on there was I feel like they were like too young. I feel like I want all these stories to be about like, and maybe they're not, maybe they are like 30, I don't know, they look really young, but I want these stories to be about like people in their 30s that are just kind of like lost, but not lost in the way that like they're on the side of the street or like they've been abandoned, but just like what I think like a lot of the normal average experience is. Like, you went through life, you did what you were supposed to, and now you just feel there, and you're maybe not happy with the way that things are going or will go or that you're expected to do, and you're at a place in your life where like you feel like a lot of it is gone, and you're just like grasping to just try to keep as much of like, I guess, childhood around, but it's not even really childhood. It's just like trying to avoid like the next phase. So I hope that this kind of inspires you to go and do like your own mood board thing. The next part of this, now that I have all of my kind of vibes and ideas down, is I'll be opening a Notion template and kind of filling it out based on the tropes that I can tell from these, the vibes that I'm getting. I'll be cracking down a little bit more on the genre, and we'll go from there. Okay, bye!